Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Growing Up is Overrated podcast. My name is Jen, and I'm here with my friend and co-host, T. Valentine's Day is fast approaching, and while talking about romance is fun, we want to dedicate this episode to our friendships, since not everyone is in a romantic relationship. All relationships play an important role in our lives, and fostering those relationships as an adult can be tricky. How do you make friendships when so much of our lives are dedicated to adulting? This week, we will be discussing our strategies on making friends. Now, into the podcast. Hello, T. Happy February and Valentine's Day. Almost.
Oh my gosh, it's already February.
I know, hasn't 2021 been a trip already?
I've been busy.
But yeah, it is almost that time of year of chocolate and more chocolate. And more chocolate.
My whole life is chocolate. It's just heart-shaped now.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And pink. Lots of pink and reds.
Love pink. I'm rediscovering my love for pink.
Yeah. I live in a pink room that I'm desperate to escape, so my love for pink is it's not very strong, but
I understand.
But yeah, here this week we're going to talk not about Valentine's Day, even though Valentine's Day is fun, and I'm planning on watching Titanic this year, as I do every year.
Yes.
We're going to talk about friendships. Also, Galentine's Day.
Galentine's Day. We're here.
Mm-hmm. I've had so many great Galentine's Days in my life.
You know what's funny?
Yeah.
Okay, your description of Galentine's Day in your experience. Have you actually had like other girls like chilling out on a day where you're all single, like on a Valentine's Day where you're all single?
Yeah.
I don't know if I have. Maybe in high school I did, but I mean I haven't been single in a long time, so
fair enough.
I don't know. I can't remember a time that I actually did that, but even though I am in a relationship, I kind of still want to do that. I don't know.
It's a great time. Like my best Valentine's Days were in college. And to be fair, one of us was in a relationship, but it was long distance. So It was like, it wasn't the same as them going out and doing things on Valentine's Day.
Right.
So we all, we bought, this was before we were of age, so we went and bought, sparkling cider. I made chocolate-covered strawberries in our dorm room, and we sat around and watched Titanic together.
Aww.
And the next year, we watched Moulin Rouge.
I've never watched that.
Oh, it's such a good movie. It's such a cheesy romance movie. I love it.
Maybe we'll dive into that later.
Yes, but anyway, so we're here to talk about making friendships, specifically making friendships as an adult.
This is such a major thing that I struggled with. And also I hear a lot of other people our age talk about. So I'm really excited to get into this. And I think we have an interesting take because you're more introverted and I'm more extroverted. So I'm interested to see how our backgrounds in making friends really, gets into, or, the differences.
Yeah, exactly.
The differences.
Yeah, the differences between us. Because there are some. Because you're right, I am a very introverted person. I feel like people listening to our podcast are like, she's introverted? Huh? Her?
Yeah. I mean, well, that's this is a little bit of a side tangent, but being an introvert doesn't mean that you don't like talking to people. Being an introvert and being shy are different things. And being jaded from people is also a different thing. But being an introvert just means that you don't get your energy from social interactions, but it doesn't mean you need them any less, right?
Absolutely.
So that's really important.
Yeah, I love that definition of introversion because I do like my alone time, but I also like talking to people. But anyway,
Right.
that is a side tangent. So the first thing I think we should talk about is we're talking about making friends as an adult. And that might sound strange to classify it that way, as opposed to just making friends in general. But making friends when you're an adult is very different to making friends when you're a kid.
Yeah, it is.
Like, there's just so when you're a kid, you go to school every day and you see the same people. And if you're like me and you've been in the same school, you were in the same school system your entire life, you knew people from
Yeah.
when you were 5 to when
Right.
you graduated at 18.
Yeah. Yeah, I had people who I graduated with who I was in the same nursery as, like tiny babies staying together for like our whole lives.
Exactly. So like you're surrounded by the same people all the time. So a lot of your friendships tend to be friendships of convenience.
Yeah. Yeah, they really do. And you know, I don't know if you changed friend groups as much as I did. Um, when I was a kid, I was constantly like, I don't think this is working. I'm gonna try to hang out with some new people. And it ended up landing me my 2 friends who I still talk to this day. But, yeah, like, all of my friends were volleyball in all my same classes, um, or, like, I was having an awkward day with another friend group and looked around and said, "Who have I had a former relationship with?" and just sat down with them and started talking to them. But that's, like, a very extroverted thing to do.
Extremely so. I would never just go and sit down with the group of people that I don't sit with every day at lunch. Like, are you kidding? No.
Yeah, I was like, "Hey, can I sit here?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." Friends
Yeah.
for life.
No. No, no, no.
Or, like,
Yeah.
you start complaining over the same homework assignment as each other,
Mhm.
or, like, the same teacher, or, like, you have the sense of, like, "We're all in this together," not to be High School Musical, but you do. Like, you have the sense of, "We are fighting through the school system. We hate being in school. Like, we have each other to get through this situation,"
Mhm.
And then, like, that's really what bonds you. But it's really interesting once you like, there's all the drama of high school and middle school and, like, your friendships change there, and then you also have, like you get to this point in high school where you're choosing colleges, you're moving out maybe, like, there's a lot of life change that happens starting at 18 and all the way through early adulthood, um, that really makes it hard to have these convenience friendships stick?
Yeah. And I feel like it's just interesting to look back on because I wouldn't say I changed friend groups a lot, but I do remember having 3 distinct friend groups over my years. Like in elementary school, I had certain friends. And then when all the elementary schools in town combined into the middle school, I made new
Yeah.
friends.
Yep.
And then we moved schools again up into the upper middle school and I met new friends. And then I basically stayed friends with those friends up through senior year of high school.
Yeah.
But after we graduated and went to college, I realized how much like we didn't really have in common
Yeah.
and how we kind of just hung out with each other and like we had certain things in common. Like I got my
Mhm.
obsession over like British television from them
Yeah. I had
and
a
a
very
couple
similar
and a couple of other things from them that are like yeah, we had that in common, but like you just realize that you weren't as close as you thought
Yeah.
sometimes. And you thought that, oh, we're gonna be in each other's weddings, we're gonna hang out when we all
Mhm.
come home from
Ugh,
college, and it'll be like nothing's changed, and it's like something's changed.
the promises. The promises that you make as, like, a kid or a teen to your friends about, like, "Oh, yeah, you're gonna be in my wedding. You'll be my best, um not best man. You're you'll be
Maid of
my
honor.
maid of honor, and, like, we're gonna be in each other's weddings and support each other through our whole life." But, maybe you do have some friendships that are like that, but it's not I don't know. This sounds dark, but it's not maybe as likely as you would hope it would be.
Well, it's just like you don't have the scope to
Right.
understand that, your life in high school is so small.
Yeah.
It's so untouched by
Yeah.
life. And
Yeah.
as you grow and maybe either you go to college or you don't, you move out, you get a job, something, you just change a lot.
Right.
And you look back and realize how different you are from
Yeah.
who you were when you were friends.
Yeah.
And those changes sometimes are just not overcomable. And there are some that in which you can overcome that. Like I still have a couple of friends I talk to from high school. I wouldn't say super consistently, but I do talk to them sometimes. But just a majority of those friendships have fallen away. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's just life.
Right.
But like that's different. That so when you're a kid, since you have school that you work around, friendships are relatively easy. But once you're an adult and you don't have a system keeping you with other people besides work, which I mean you can make friends with your coworkers, but that's not really the same thing.
Yeah, my friendships with coworkers are really interesting because you feel that same sense of convenience friendship. Like you're all on this together again, and yeah, the boss did this, and man, that was so frustrating when that customer did that, and like you still have that same camaraderie, but when it comes down to it, even if you were hanging out with them outside of work, as soon as you leave that job, most of those like connections that you had, they just fall to the wayside. It's really weird. I only
Mhm.
have trying to think. I think I only have like two people who I still talk to from previous jobs, or maybe like three. And that's not that's as friends, right? That's
Mhm.
not like, networking bosses and that kind of stuff. Like I still do keep in touch with some bosses, but they're not my friends.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm. I don't have as much experience with this cuz I haven't had as many jobs. And most of the jobs I've had have not been with people who are my age.
yeah,
So it's hasn't been the same
yeah.
relationship building.
Right. Well, so when I worked at the office store, we had an influx of people my age, ish, like in our
Mhm.
20s, right? And well, I wasn't in my 20s because like we would go to this restaurant brewery place like close by after work sometimes and do trivia.
Mhm.
And I think I was like 19, so I still couldn't drink, but they would have drinks and stuff. Um, and uh, we would go to baseball games, and
Mhm.
like enjoy each other's company. Like we did things outside of work, and it was really fun. And I really enjoyed their company. But as soon as that store actually closed, so we all helped liquidate the store. And once that happened, we tried to stay in connection and our schedules just didn't line up. And then a bunch of us moved to different places and it was just this whole thing. And so I don't know, you just realized like the direction of your lives were not the same, right? So you're not going to stay in touch really.
Mhm.
And those Facebook connections, like, sure, we followed each other on Instagram and on Facebook, but like, uh, we're not really keeping in touch with each other anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And not to say that friendships of convenience are bad. They have a
No,
place
they
in
really
life.
do.
And I wouldn't have gotten through a lot of my jobs if I didn't at least make friendly with with my coworkers and have conversations with them. Like it's not saying
Right.
that don't talk to people unless they're going to be lifelong friends because that's just not realistic.
No, it's not.
Um, but it's important to recognize that some relationships are relationships of convenience. And if
Yeah,
you want them to be more than that, you have to put in more effort
you do.
and understand that that is some circumstances change, then they might not be there anymore unless you really want them to be and you really put in the time.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about making lifelong friends is it is about time and commitment.
Well, yeah, and sometimes you'll put in the work and it still just doesn't work, and that's okay.
Mhm.
Especially as people have kids and just have more complex lives, it does become more difficult to have your schedules work together, or I don't know, just relate to each other.
Yeah, I mean,
And
that comes with people being in different stages of life.
right. But I don't know, it's always weird to me because I love kids, so I'm always like, "Please, like, if you have a baby, let me come hold your baby. I will change them, I will hold them, I will rock them to sleep. I can do anything except for pretty much feed them if you're, not getting them a bottle." But, like, it's just I can't I can do so much for you, and I would love to spend time with you and your child, but I think a lot of parents end up kind of isolating themselves, and I don't know why that is because I don't have a kid yet, so
Yeah, maybe you'll understand more when that becomes relevant. But yeah, I can see like I'm totally the opposite. I'm like, ugh, I don't like kids. Like, get me away from the
yeah.
kids. Um, I like I like children. They just have to be older children.
Right. Which
Um,
yeah. I
but
feel
yeah,
like a lot of my friends are like that, but yeah, any age group I'm cool with.
well, yeah, I wouldn't expect anything less.
I would hope so.
Yeah, but so the way to make friends is to do the opposite of what I like to do, which is put yourself out there and try to meet people.
Yes. Yeah, this sounds scary, but I mean, maybe this is just my extroversion talking, but I think that it can actually be a lot more simple and less thinking about it, if that makes sense. So, if you just go do something that you enjoy in a public setting, that it could be as simple as that, right? You could go play the ukulele on a park bench. You could uh, go to the rec center and dribble a basketball. Just, I don't know, things that like really simple like that. And a lot of times there's this kind of balance of extroverts coming to introverts because we're typically the initiators and we know that, and so we just do it.
Mhm.
you know but I also think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I've had conversations many of my introverted friends about this, and it's it is also important for an extrovert to put themselves out of their comfort zone, right?
Mhm.
To make friends. And one of the best ways is to go to college, or one of those situations, because go somewhere where you don't know anybody because that's like
Mhm.
so uncomfortable. But you understand, like, wow, I've been alone for a long time now and I can't do this. And so you have to go do things that you don't necessarily think you want to.
Yeah. I mean, that's totally true. Like, I think that I was at my most like, I'm gonna go do things like first semester freshman year of college
Yeah.
because I was lonely. Big
Right.
shocker. Um, but yeah, I went out, I met people, I did things. But the thing about introverts, at least for me anyway, is that once you get comfortable, you don't really want to leave.
Yeah.
So like I made like one group of friends and I kind of just stuck with it. Because I was like,
Yeah.
I'm comfortable, I have friends, I don't want to make any more friends. And
Yep.
that's a pattern that
Yeah.
I still do. But it's important to just go out and do things and meet people who do similar things to you. And funny enough, that doesn't necessarily mean leaving your house. Like it can be as simple as like last year around this time I joined a Discord and met
Hmm.
you and a
Yep.
bunch of other people. Like I didn't
Yep.
even have to leave my house for that. I just
You did.
joined a thing and started talking.
Yeah,
And
well,
yeah.
and you didn't even really start off talking, right? Like, I mean, you started off, like, in voice chat, at least.
No, I
You
did
s
not
you
talk in
started
voice
off
chat.
speaking with us over text in the Discord. and the extroverts were talking on the voice chat, and you joined the voice chat and just heard us talking, and that kind of let you hear our vibe and kind of like scope out, oh, who do I think I would actually get along with? Like who should I actually pursue talking to more in this group, if anybody? Right? And I think that like being there's nothing wrong with being tactical. Like it sounds kind of weird in our, but I think like some of my best friendships have been on one end or the other or both, like pretty tactical and like intentional.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that is what I did. I was texting on the Discord in group chats about stuff, and I was listening and I was paying attention to who I liked and who I thought was kind people who weren't crazy. Because what they say about the internet is true. There are a lot of crazy people.
Yeah.
And then I picked out a couple of people that I was like, these guys seem cool. And then I started to like make more of an effort to
Right.
chat. And like you can do that in a real life setting too.
Yeah.
You can pay attention and notice who you think these people seem nice, and I think
Mhm.
that I'd get along with them.
Yeah.
Especially if you just do go out and do things in the community. Like
Yeah.
maybe you're into yoga and you go to a yoga class like
Mhm.
once a week and you notice that there's somebody who's always in the same class as you and they seem nice. Like just go up and say hi.
Yeah, you can kind of simulate convenience friendships in that way,
hmm
you know?
And then you just have to make it deeper. Talk.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of being an adult is simulating structures that were already put in place for you by adults when you were a kid. And I don't know if
hmm
this is intentional on adults' part or if this is just one of those things that's just life kind of has so many ways that it kind of prepares you just naturally. I don't know. Um, but it is really important to simulate situations, especially when you're like newer to a scenario, right?
hmm
So yeah, I think anything where you can go be in a place around other people that doesn't necessarily involve you speaking right away. um, I think could be really helpful for a lot of people. Um,
hmm
and okay, so I've been listening to the psychiatrist talk about gamers learning how to be more social and
hmm
better socially assimilated. And one of the things that he actually recommends is going to improv classes.
Really?
Yeah, he says go to improv classes because it'll teach you how to like kind of put your super suit on to be social. Like, and he's had a massive success with this, with a lot of his introvert gamer clients. And I think that if it's just something that really gets you out of your comfort and gives you a lot of social context and learning how to socialize, you know?
Yeah, I totally agree with that, honestly, because like I did acting in high school.
Yeah.
I was part of the improv club for a little bit. It wasn't really my thing. But just acting and like trying to be somebody else on a stage like does really help introverted people like me learn to be someone else and just
Yeah.
kind of have fake confidence if you don't have real confidence.
Fake it till you
Um
make it.
yeah, exactly. It is fake it till you make it. And so I totally believe that that works.
Yeah.
I'm a I'm I'm a s- I'm
A
a
success
success story
story.
of that.
Yeah.
So like it really does work.
Yeah. I think I think it's a really great tip, honestly, and I hope that some of you try it.
Yeah, so I think that just about wraps up what we were going to say. So why don't we transition into our silver linings this week?
Silver lining.
It doesn't have
Okay.
it. I mean, it does technically have a theme song, but it doesn't have words. So what is making you happy this week, T?
This week, I am super jazzed about a new game. I was in love with the Harvest Moon games as a kid, and specifically the one on the GameCube, It's a Wonderful Life. Amazing. But I haven't felt like any of the Story of Seasons or Harvest Moon games have really given me that same experience until now. So Story of Seasons Friends of Mineral Town, the remake for Switch, has been amazing. And honestly, I can't stop taking care of my farm. I love it so much.
Yeah, you have been very obsessed with that lately.
It's gonna soon overlap my 1,000 hours.
Oh, your 1,000 hours in Animal Crossing?
Yes. Jen, what's making your week great?
Well, it's not a yet, it's a plan. I already mentioned at the beginning of the podcast how I have Valentine's Day plans. They are to be by myself, make chocolate-covered strawberries, and watch Titanic. And honestly, that is what's making me happy. I cannot wait for my chocolate-covered strawberries and Titanic evening.
Heck yeah, girl.
Yes, it's going to be so relaxing.
I love that. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. You can find new episodes every other Tuesday, wherever you get your podcast. Please subscribe and leave us a review. It really helps us out. We hope you'll continue to listen to us talk about our lives and hopefully learn something about yourself too. And remember, growing up is overrated.